The nominees for Best Writing in a Cartoon Series are Strongdar, Master of Vacom, The Wedding Episode.
So, I've been doing this YouTube thing for about 2 years, at least at the time I'm recording this. June 11, 2019 was when I started. Since then I've had a lot of ups as well as a lot of downs. Why am I saying this now, you may be asking? Well, it's because of this video itself. Believe it or not, I've been trying to make this video since December of 2019. Almost a full year now. 4 attempts since this was a thought in my head. And all 4 times, I never quite hit that mark where I was happy with the final product. But now, this year, in 2021, I'm finally gonna do it. Same with The Legend of Korra, I'm finally making my full review on the coveted reboot, She-Ra and the Princesses of Power.
Now hold up, geek, hold up. Listen, it's me, Manuel D, your friend, your friend. We've been friends for like 2 years now, and I'm just gonna say this outright as your friend. Don't do this. This is not a good idea, and it isn't worth it. She-Ra is just another boring, uncreative, and really bad reboot. Like, what makes you think that you can do justice this time? It's not gonna be like Korra, dude. Come on, bro. Just don't do this.
He's right, this isn't anything like Korra. It's something completely different. You don't know what you're doing.
Go ahead, down me all you want, but I still think there's some good to come out of the show itself. Because in a world of disappointing reboots and reimaginings, I feel like She-Ra gets the short end of the stick in terms of its status. There exist people who like it because of its distance from the old property and its arguably well-made story, but of course people who dislike it, brushing it off as nothing interesting. Once again, I choose to take a bit of a different approach. With She-Ra being one of my favorite series, I love it to bits. But there are some aspects throughout its run that do warrant critiques of some kind. And if we're gonna do this, we're gonna do it right. So let's start at the beginning. 1983. In music, Michael Jackson's Billie Jean climbs up the music charts, Superman 3 is bombing in theaters worldwide, and over on the TV side, Lou Scheimer premieres possibly one of the most nostalgic series to be shown on TV screens, He-Man and the Masters of the Universe. Spanning 2 seasons, 130 episodes, and over $1 billion in merchandising alone, there's no doubt that this would end up being a franchise for the ages, spawning a number of reboots, a live-action film, and most notably for this video, a spin-off. And I think that's enough. For now, let's fast forward to 2018. As Gorillaz' humidity blares through radio stations everywhere, and the Venom movie takes the world by storm, a certain property is getting a reboot on Netflix, that being She-Ra and the Princesses of Power. Created by animator Noel Stevenson, this very show spanning 5 seasons has cultivated one of the best followings to a Netflix show I've seen in recent years, and it's even managed to become one of my favorite cartoons in recent memory, which is why I intend to look into every season the series has and point out why it's become a new standard for reboots to follow. This is She-Ra, a reboot done right.
Then rise. The rebellion accepts your allegiance. She-Ra, Princess of Power.
None of us stand a chance on our own, but we might be able to stop them together.
Etheria has need of you, Adora. Will you answer its call? Will you fight for the honor of Grayskull?
Like any other of its kind, a show's first season has the predetermined goal of introducing its audience, whether new or old, to its world. Typically, this is done through the introduction of the main and side characters, as well as a start to a fully expansive world where the possibilities are endless. Although while they do come with a set amount of different locations within the show's respective universe that could be explored later on. And the first season of She-Ra stays true to this philosophy and doesn't disappoint in any way. The first season's main focus is to cover the origins of Adora becoming She-Ra, as well as the uniting and creation of the Princess Alliance. And if we're speaking about the characters, they really do come in spades. Adora, in terms of the new series, is a very far cry from her previous incarnation. In this one, she's more energetic, but also shows hints of being clumsy and kind of inexperienced. Thankfully, this isn't really a detriment to her character, because the show follows her essentially finding herself in this big wide world. And I definitely had a great time watching her adventures as the new She-Ra, saving the kingdoms of Bright Moon and aiding the rebellion in any way she can, alongside the best friend squad. Speaking of which, let's discuss our secondary characters in the season and moving forward. forward. The best friend squad. Glimmer, the princess of Bright Moon, is the more bubblier of the group, reckless and constantly ready to fight and prove herself, but all coming from a place of wanting to help her kingdom. Bo, the only non-princess in the entire squad, is the more tactical one, and in my opinion, the one who shares some of the best moments in this season as well as the series as a whole. Like, it was honestly fun seeing how charming he could be. I always enjoyed whenever he'd have to be the one keeping the group in check, as well as his moments in aiding the rebellion against their enemies.
Who's ready to stop messing around with sharp objects? Hey look, I am!
Maybe if you pointed at me?
Or, unpopular opinion, don't point a sword directly at our friend.
It's fine. I got this.
Maybe it's like a motion. Like a jabbing motion? Or a strike?
Do you want to get hit with a sword?
The show's called She-Ra and the Princesses of Power, obviously also starring a wide array of princesses, and man did they not disappoint. Each and every one of them absolutely brimming with character in my opinion. Mermissa with her dry delivery at times, Frosta with her adorably childish nature, Perfuma being a ray of sunshine, Entrapta and her witty remarks to everything, they all come together to make the show even more enjoyable. It also helps that each of them have their own special episodes and key moments in the season that both help introduce these characters in unique ways and move the plot along. An addition that is always appreciated from me. But every hero is only good as his or her villain, and for the most part for She-Ra, we have Catra. I gotta say, for a reboot of an 80s property, the amount of effort in Catra is something that I can give the team major props for. Throughout the first season, as well as the rest of the series, we see her develop as more of a multifaceted character, with flaws that help the audience watch her on screen. But for the sake of keeping this review structured, I'll discuss her development for the first season, since that's what I consider the beginning of her arc. Throughout the season's 13 episodes, we see her go through many changes in her character, not really remaining one-dimensional throughout. At one point, she can be attempting to hinder Adora and her hero's journey, but at another, she can be seen helping Adora escape from the clutches of the Horde. This gives her a hint of humanity that doesn't really allow her to be completely loved or hated by the general community, and I really liked watching that unfold on screen. Sure, there are other villains that play a bigger role in the series going forward, but in terms of the first season, Catra really does steal the spotlight. I can't be done with the characters without mentioning one of the arguably most interesting ones in this reviewer's opinion, Scorpia. Being Catra's partner in crime and right-hand man, or in this case woman, she offers some of the more comedic and, being honest, more human aspects to the series' villains, presenting a more bright, cheery, and innocent dynamic to Catra's arc as the series' main-ish antagonist. The season also introduces us to the many different locations that the world of Etheria could offer, from the shiny and more mystical areas of Bright Moon and Mysticor, to the more natural looks of Plumeria, to even the mechanical-centric area of Drill, all of which come with their very own unique color palette, clothing style, and even ethnicity, adding much more of a diverse world when watching any number of the season's episodes. With 13 episodes in this season, I'll admit it was difficult choosing just one to name my favorite, because different episodes really do shine in terms of character development and interaction, choreography and action, as well as general storytelling. But after evaluating all of these factors, I'd have to say that its finale episode, The Battle of Bright Moon, is my pick. The episode really does drag its audience in with its premise specifically. With episode after episode of the Horde closing in and taking over Etheria, the final defense of Bright Moon stands tall against their enemies ready to defend their home, showcasing just how well the princesses work together. Overall, the first season does a phenomenal job at introducing its audience to the world and characters of Etheria, offering a story that's rich but yet not too hard to follow, making season 1 pretty great in my opinion.
Okay.
Soul surviving, dudes so conniving.
Now, season 2 is in a weird spot for me. Not that I hate it completely, there are a few things that keep its quality up, but what makes it weird is the fact that in terms of the overall story, it doesn't really contribute as much, and because of that, it really hinders it when this season would directly be the follow-up to the beginning of this grand epic tale, and then just follow it up with episodes that contain nothing but character development and maybe a sprinkle of story if you're lucky, which again is not bad by any means, but just kinda jarring when you're watching it for the first time around. But anyway, the second season, while not offering as much in terms of the overall story, contributes to adding much more depth to these characters that we've gotten introduced to. Their personalities and insecurities help establish some sort of relatability to them, whether it be Frosta's difficulty fitting in at first, or Adora's fear of failure. While these episodes weren't completely great to me, a lot of them did have some sense of enjoyability. With only 7 episodes contained within this season, I have to say my favorite is a tie between the 2 episodes Just Roll With It and Light Spinner. Although these two contrast in terms of what's shown, to me they're 2 diamonds in the rough that I did find the most enjoyable. Starting with Just Roll With It, it offers a unique insight into Adora's fears of failure, showing how much her past still haunts her even without people like Catra and Shadow Weaver being there. But the episode tries its best to keep a lighthearted feel throughout, with lots of playful banter and jokes included.
It's over, Catra. You've lost.
Catra's not here.
but I'm happy to take you down for her.
Moving on to Light Spinner, an episode I feel contrasts heavily with the rest of the season's episodes, going into the origins of a character who up until that point we never really knew much about, presenting to the audience how there's much more to these characters than meets the eye, also building up to what might just be one of the series' most heartbreaking scenes. Just an amazing episode overall.
You were just using me all along.
The second season, while lacking in a few areas, as I've pointed out before, still does try its best to entertain the audience with episodes that focus more on characters and world building. While not contributing much to the story as a whole, I wouldn't completely disregard it, since I still see it as She-Ra doing its best. She-Ra's third season is what I consider the series' improving point. This season's 7 episodes go back to what makes the first season so great and focuses a great deal more on storytelling, offering twists and turns with every episode's beginning and end, and personally, I loved every minute of it. In this season, we get introduced to a new location, the Crimson Waste, which definitely is a more appreciated change of scenery in my opinion. Gone are the lush landscapes and forests of Bright Moon, and replaced with it are red sands, almost cinematic locations, and more dangerous threats. Along with those new threats comes new characters to the main cast, and for this season we have Huntara, an ex-force captain of the Horde who's become the sort of big boss of the Crimson Waste, ruling it with an iron fist, and her introductory episode, while not my absolute favorite, still remains one of the best in the series, showing the similarities between Huntara and Adora, both their views, but also the paths they both cross on. Definitely one of the most interesting characters She-Ra has given us up until this point.
I'm Adora, this is Bo and Glimmer, and we came to...
Blondie, boy, glitter. Got it. Huntara. Now what do you want?
This season is also home to probably one of the most out-of-nowhere dynamic shifts for both Catra and Scorpia's dynamic. With loss after loss for Catra up until this point, it would end up tipping the scales and putting the series in a new direction, at least plot-wise, making way for nothing but quality from here on out.
And a toast to Boss Catra, best leader we've ever had!
With once again only 7 episodes contained within this season, I'd have to go with the 2-parter season finale as my favorite, those being the episodes Remember and The Portal. It is technically cheating since they are both 2 episodes, but they both form one narrative that contributes to the season's overall quality. Not to mention that it offers possibly one of the best interactions between Adora and Queen Angela, and what's possibly the best collaboration between the writers and voice actors. You get what seems to be one of the best scenes with this character, explaining her insecurities throughout the season at that point, ending it with a phenomenal display of bravery. Now that's great character writing.
You inspired us. You inspired me. Not because it was your destiny, but because you never let fear stop you. And now I choose to be brave.
No! Your Majesty! Angela!
Season 3 probably has the best in terms of both character and story development up until this point. Not only because it offers us something new as opposed to the previous season, but also because it took more of a different turn in regards to its characters and dynamics, being a season I feel has the highest highs for the series as of now. Interconnected with Season 3's drastic change in storytelling style, Season 4 offers a whole new dynamic for each and every one of the characters, the Best Friend Squad, the Princess Alliance, as well as the Kingdom of Bright Moon as a whole, starting the season off with perhaps the most drastic change, the coronation of Queen Glimmer, being one of the episodes to shift the status quo of the series.
Together, we will push out the Horde, once and for all!
But with all these changes, there is a very apparent new subplot that really gets under my skin in this season. The dynamic between Glimmer and Adora is completely at an all-time low. Every scene either has them being completely wrong in the argument or both of them having a contest of who's more right. This seriously brought nothing new but annoyance to me this season, since it offered nothing new in terms of the plot.
I'm not going to hide inside the castle while our people are in danger. I'm the queen. You don't give me orders.
okay? I get that you're upset, but...
Don't talk to Bo like that.
Adora, it's fine. Glimmer's just...
I need to stop the Horde. Any way I can. We're done for today.
Fine.
While the interactions of the main characters aren't the best in my opinion, the episodes presented to us are possibly some of the most fun I've had so far with this series. From mystery solving to boys night out shenanigans to even more story heavy concepts, the episodes feel like they have much more thought and care put into it than any other season. Stories put into the forefront but not completely blocking out some comedy to balance it out, and the series as a whole seems to have a much more grand scale than before. Following up with the start of the season adding new characters to the cast, we get introduced to not only a new cast member but also a new addition to the Rogues Gallery, that being Double Trouble, but I'm not gonna talk about them. I got somebody else to do it. Everybody, welcome Wingwolf.
Hello everyone. You probably don't know me, but I am Girly Wolfpup, better known as Wingwolf. I'm a she-they non-binary, and I've been asked by Geek to discuss my thoughts on Double Trouble, a character from Season 4 and 5 of the She-Ra and the Princesses of Power cartoon series. Now, Double Trouble was introduced in Season 4 as someone who, while working for the villains of the show, never had allegiance to the Horde. The character themselves is very over-the-top and dramatic. It ties into their shape-shifting powers as they treat disguising as other people like playing a part on a stage. Double Trouble was a character I found super important when they were announced for the show, as I hadn't really seen many non-binary characters in media. Sure, I'd seen them before with the likes of Sega's Knight's character or Leo from Tekken, but non-binary characters are incredibly rare to see, as we're still fighting to even be acknowledged by the majority of the LGBT community and the world at large. Still, Double Trouble for me is a character I really liked seeing during Season 4. However, I feel like the show didn't really utilize them the best. Double Trouble was introduced in Season 4, as I mentioned, and She-Ra as a show ended at Season 5, a season where Double Trouble only appears twice. Once in an entire episode, the other for like less than a minute in the finale. Sure, Double Trouble had a huge presence in Season 4, but once Season 5 came, they were pretty much thrown to the sidelines, and I honestly feel like they deserved more screen time. I think a lot of the reason I feel this way is because, for me, this character is one of the only examples of a non-binary rep in popular media that I really liked. And to see them only really get utilized in one season of the show, and then barely used for the next and final season after their introduction, just felt really disappointing. There's a huge issue with non-binary characters in media where a lot of them either get sidelined or are blank slate protags like Frisk and Undertale, which honestly makes them being non-binary mean nothing for me, as it only feels like it was tacked onto them for brownie points instead of being designed with being non-binary in mind. Double Trouble was different. They were a real, fun character who got to shine like any other antagonist in the series, and yet they still lacked in screen time when compared to their counterparts who were part of the gender binary. I'm not criticizing Double Trouble here. I love them, and they're honestly my favorite character on the show next to Entraptia, but I really do think She-Ra as a show missed its chance to use this character to their fullest by introducing DT too late into the series. If you ask me, Double Trouble should have been introduced in Season 2 or 3, so we could have had more time with them in the plot. Regardless, I still believe Double Trouble overall is a big step forward for non-binary people getting to have actual three-dimensional characters in media, and they're very much a big deal for me personally as a non-binary person.
When it comes to this season's episodes, there are quite a few that I consider to be my favorites, but at the end of the day, Mer Mysteries took this top spot. Just was a fun episode that demonstrated the flowing chemistry that the season included, even with the faults I presented. In the end, Season 4, despite its setbacks, still offers us a season full of entertaining story, engaging action, and especially great writing. Now let's end it off with And now we've reached what I consider She-Ra's peak throughout its entire run. Similar to Korra, the final season is the one that dragged me in due to its use of aspects from each and every one of its seasons. Starting off with the aftermath of the previous season, this season focuses on Adora's journey following the events of her breaking her sword in order to forge her own destiny, but quickly realizing that she isn't anything without the sword and without She-Ra. Meanwhile, Glimmer's been kidnapped by the big bad for this season, Horde Prime. Now they gotta go into space to rescue Glimmer and save Etheria. With this concept in mind, you would think that the plot of She-Ra in space could be potentially pushing it in terms of ideas, but in all honesty, it's actually much more fun than any other season I've seen. It completely takes advantage of its concept to convey a fun space adventure, full of all the interaction, drama, and action scenes you could ever have.
And all we've got between us and certain death is this falling apart old ship. but now the ship's broken, and we haven't got Glimmer, and who knows where Entrapta is. What are you doing out there?
I made spacesuits for us, and then I fixed the ship from space! Where I am!
This season includes quite the number of character development moments. You really do get the feeling that these characters really have been through a lot together throughout the show's run. One of which I've grown to appreciate is the character development for Catra, becoming more sympathetic towards the end of the series. Honestly great to see this sort of B-plot for this series, making the rest of the season so much more enjoyable.
Hey, Dora.
With 4 seasons so far of dealing with Hordak, this season comes with a brand new villain, this being Horde Prime, an unfeeling, merciless antagonist with an army of clones by his side. Honestly one of the best antagonists to ever come out of the series. He plays this role as a smug villain that's always confident in his plan, playing the part of a sophisticate but secretly not as perfect as he is, and even his more dramatic scenes have a legitimate sense of drama to them, all the way to his final appearance. In terms of my favorite episode for this season, it'll undeniably have to be Save the Cat. Honestly, I can comfortably say that this episode is She-Ra at its peak. Its storytelling, action, and especially dialogue made this the best episode for this season, outranking even some of the later episodes. Don't get me wrong, I love this entire season's episodes, but this one really does take the cake.
Ayo Geek, don't forget to mention Best Princess, and if you think I mean anyone but Entrapta, you're objectively wrong, Frosty. Because while most folks are annoyed by Entrapta's childish antics, she's actually quite inquisitive and curious. You know, like how actual autistic people are when it comes to their special interests and hyperfixations. Speaking from experience, Entrapta has a fascination with learning and science. She's not afraid to ask big questions and get all up in your face for that data. When the gang first met her, she was a shut-in and had a hard time communicating with other people. Entrapta's robots and inventions were the only way she could express herself. And when the Resistance thought she had died, Entrapta was actually living it up in science heaven with the Horde, even though she was assisting the bad guys. But she doesn't have an alignment to good or evil. She's chaotic, and that's why we love her. Whichever side has the best tech, she'll probably be on it. Plus, despite Catra's nasty attitude, her and Scorpia were probably Entrapta's first real friends. However, Entrapta's time on Beast Island made her come to terms with the fact that not everyone can handle her enthusiasm or quote-unquote weird behavior. She feels as though that no one understands her, and the friends that she does make just end up abandoning her. Adora and the Rebellion might not have known that Entrapta was still alive, but she was still left behind, and the thought of being better off left alone festered in her mind. But Entrapta is capable of being a great friend. She most definitely was to Scorpia. Even when Mermista and the other princesses accused Entrapta of only caring about technology, she was actually trying to use her tech to prove that she does care about them. Entrapta says it best, she has poor people skills. I think this was a great character moment for her, because she's complex and not some one-note character. You know, despite making her a technological genius, yet another overplayed stereotype of autistic people. Entrapta's emotional growth is what kept me invested. Even saw a bit of myself in her at times. Okay, the whole time. In a neurotypical world, where sorry excuses of neurodivergent representation usually comes in the form of aliens or robots, the chances of getting a decent human rep always comes down to the gifted savant, who's usually a white cis young male. Jeez, no wonder people think autism is a white person disorder. That's all they ever see. So having an independent older woman of color on the spectrum is refreshing as all hell, especially since she also has a love interest. Romance is awkward, especially for neurodivergence. That's no lie. So seeing Entrapta willingly bud a friendship that blossoms into romance with Hordak was adorable. But trust me, I'm not excusing Hordak's genocidal actions, which were fueled by his daddy issues and insecurities for his own physical limitations. But it was heartwarming to see this baddie turn soft just from having a friend. They're cute science partners and it's canon, so ha! In short, Entrapta is truly the autistic princess we all need but don't deserve. And stan this weird sci-fi couple. Okay, Geek, you can have your soapbox back. See ya, Streaks.
I feel like this video wouldn't be complete without my opinions on Cadora, the series' endgame couple. Personally, I feel like it was a little rushed, but at the end of the day, I really don't mind the whole enemies to lovers thing. It's harmless enough and I can't really ask for more. Now, the finale to the season's also worth mentioning because I feel like it really does cap off the series in what I consider the best way. Nothing that I could mention here would really do it justice in my opinion, but just know it concentrates all the brilliance that I've mentioned before from seasons past into an episode that's truly why I consider She-Ra to be a reboot done right, in every sense of the word. I watched She-Ra as a whole a total of 3 times. The first was in 2019, a year where I thought life wouldn't get any tougher for me, with the school year being harder to deal with than the rest. The series gave me solace and hope that I could beat whatever challenge the rest of the year threw at me. The second was in 2020, at the start of a pandemic and the end of a school year that was over before it could really start. I was stuck in a house with nothing to do but sit around and watch stuff until the situation got better. Again, She-Ra was there to comfort me in a time where I really had no clue if things were going to get better. The third time was this year. After 2 years and constant failed scripts regarding the show, I found the determination to finally get this out, but I was faced with a challenge. I wasn't so sure if it held up, but I watched later and now we're here. This show, these characters, this world helped me through so much in the span of 2 years. I remember my excitement for whenever a new season dropped, rushing over to my computer with excitement just ready to re-enter the world of Etheria. This experience is exactly why I consider She-Ra to be one of my favorite series in recent memory. Sure, it has its issues, but at the end of the day, it's continued to be one of the best reboots to come out recently. She-Ra really does mean a lot to me, and I'm so happy at the fact that I finally managed to give my feelings on the show after 2 years. Whether or not more is planned for this series is left for speculation, but for me, I'll never get tired of revisiting the world of Etheria.
You sent the sword?
The sword is meant for you. Etheria has need of you, Adora. Will you answer its call? Will you fight for the honor of Grayskull?
Give it up, Catra. There's no way you win this. I heard he made it a lot farther than anyone thought I would.
Sure, we don't have powers like the princesses, but that never stopped me, and it doesn't have to stop you.
But you're a master archer. We're just ordinary people.
I'm a master archer who's out of arrows. But that never stopped me either. You each have a skill that only you can do, even if it doesn't come from some magical jewel. You say you're just ordinary people? I say you're warriors of the rebellion!
We want to rebuild the Princess Alliance. None of us stand a chance on our own, but we might be able to stop them together.
And then I met you. You inspired us. You inspired me. Not because it was your destiny, but because you never let fear stop you. And now I choose to be brave.
I am not your brother. You made me in your image, but I am more than that. I gave myself a name. I made a life of my own. I made a friend. I am Hordak, and I defy your will.
One by one, all their faces have been lost to oblivion. Just as yours will be. Goodbye, my oldest enemy.
So, what are we gonna do now?
We can bring magic back to the universe. What do you guys say to one more best friend squad road trip?
I'm in!
Obviously!
Of course I'm going with you, dummy.
If I'm on my way home, yeah. Wouldn't it be crazy? Or would you still believe?